That's something we're not going to look at just today. It's something we want to look at in coming weeks, especially with talks of reforms. But today we want to start by looking at the hryvnia, Ukraine's currency. Now, the hryvnia since January has lost about 60% of its value against the dollar. This is a lot of meaning for just normal Ukrainians who've kept their savings in the local currency and currently face barriers in trying to move it to other foreign currencies that are seen as being more stable. And it's a key marker for the Ukrainian economy as well as the faith that they have there. Ukraine itself is in recession. Its growth is supposed to be 10% in the red this year, by the end of this year. So the question is how all of that will proceed. And a big factor for that as well is the International Monetary Fund. Now, Ukraine's foreign currency reserves are quite low at the moment. And the next big injection of currency that will also come with hopefully a rebound of the hryvnia as just kind of support and faith increases is dependent on that loan from the IMF. But that comes contingent. They want reforms. So it will be an interesting question to look at who will be in Ukraine's government, how they will proceed with reforms, and how all of that will be received by the IMF.
And now we have Dmytro Boyarchuk, thanks a lot for coming, who is the Executive General of Case Ukraine, an expert on economics, and we hope you will explain us what all it means, because usually it's very difficult to talk on economy and help the people understand what the sense of it.
And the first question, there's a lot of panic. A lot of people are concerned. There are a lot of fears with all of that. Is there, and you know, some of that, they even had the head of the National Bank who's going to try and get dollars from different banks in kind of a publicity stunt. Is it true, or is the hryvnia and the Ukrainian economy, are they in free fall right now?
Yeah, actually, hryvnia was allowed for free float in February of this year. However, they were not created any infrastructure for free float. You know, if you move from one mechanism to another, I mean, there was a effectively fixed exchange rate regime. Now, the National Bank is trying to establish free float. You need to create infrastructure, for instance, insurance for importers. If you, for instance, you are an importer, you need to know that in a month, in 2 months, in 3 months, you will be able to buy foreign currency for some specific price. There is no such instruments. Ukrainian businesses assumed that, for instance, we get to some other laws. For instance, there was 9 hryvnia per dollars, then 10, 11, 12. There was an assumption, okay, we are there and it will continue as it was previously. We will be fluctuating somewhere near this specific level, and it will be, again, something similar to fixed exchange rate. It wasn't. And after a new way of devaluation, I must say that businesses were totally lost. Because, you know, devaluation potential was released, current account deficit was narrowing. It, for instance, in August, it was almost near zero. All macroeconomic fundamentals indicated that we are fine. But there was new push. National Bank of Ukraine was trying to catch, to come down the market. And I must say that National Bank of Ukraine overregulated the markets. People totally lost confidence in hryvnia. They were totally disoriented. And even now, there is no clear vision what we should expect.
So we have approached the National Bank of Ukraine. We went to the interview with the head of the National Bank of Ukraine, Valeria Gontareva. She was appointed in July, and before she used to work for a number of big private companies. So the first female on such position in Ukraine. And we asked her, so what is the government policy? What were the reason for such a fall of the currency? And when do they expect the IMF trenches? So let's see what she had to say on that.
IMF mission just arrived. They arrived a few days ago, and they will stay till 25th of November. And after that, I truly believe that our government will be formed and the coalition will be there in the parliament. And after that, we can expect that IMF mission will support our request and provide the next tranches.
And when you talk about the tranche, about what amount of money we are talking?
Right now, in our program, we envisage to tranches, and total amount, maybe it will be even more than 2 tranches. I hope they will be combined, and of course we hope that we will get all these 2 tranches and even more until the end of this year. But if technically it will be impossible, it could be, of course, the beginning of next year. But I still believe that our coalition will be formed, our government will be there. That's why we will be in time, and we will get 2 tranches or even more to the end of this year.
What amount we are speaking?
We are speaking about 2.8. If we're talking about 2 tranches, it will be $2.8 billion. But if we could even consider more.
All right, and just a reminder, the full video can be found on our YouTube site for Hromadske, where you can catch all of the insight into the Ukrainian economy. But the first question we had for you, I mean, when talking about tranches and talking about the IMF and this money coming in, is there anything new there, or is that all what's expected?
Actually, Ukraine is totally dependent on IMF money, on donors' money, because we agreed to pay back gas debts to Russia, which means that our gross international reserves will be below $10 billion already by the end of December. It's another reason to be very nervous about hryvnia prospects. As we discussed, people already are not very confident on national currency prospects, and when they see how gross reserves are falling, it will add more fuel to the fire. But in addition to confidence, the main reason of losing its value is poor confidence. But you know, it's supported by hryvnia printing for the moment. But we experience a huge deficit for the moment. To a large extent, it's related to quasi-fiscal. I mean, Naftogaz. It already have been printed near 100 billion hryvnia specifically for Naftogaz. We are not talking
for them to buy Russian gas, or for what? What specifically
actually,
for them?
They do not buy Russian gas for hryvnia. They buy US dollars to buy Russian gas and to pay back debts.
Their debt. So why did they print the hryvnia then for Naftogaz?
It's for accounts. You cannot just give money from gross reserves to Naftogaz. You need to sell them for something, for hryvnia.
Okay.
So it's just a mechanism of getting money from gross international reserves. And for the moment, it's one of the main reasons why we are losing gross international reserves, because hryvnia is printing very actively. For sure, it was specifically for Naftogaz, for paying debts and for paying bills for gas, but also we have a substantial deficit.
Is that IMF a recommendation to Ukraine? The Ukrainian currency institution should step away from regulating the currency. Is this something good for Ukraine?
I think it was inevitable. If we assume that in February the head of National Bank, Mr. Kubiev, decided to keep us on the fixed level, I mean fixed exchange rate, to preserve fixed exchange rate regime, we would lose our gross reserves, I believe, a few months ago, to zero, because it's impossible. After it was made a decision to allow devaluation, large part of imports was just killed. You know, people could not buy for that much imports as it was previously.
So placed as a burden.
Yeah, when exchange rate, when the hryvnia devalued. If it was assuming 8 hryvnia per dollar, people would preserve their purchasing power, and it would be a very huge outflow of foreign currency from our country. So it was the only possible decision to allow hryvnia devalue and to try to arrange this free float.
Now, in currency issues, obviously a lot of attention has been paid to the hryvnia, but people have also been looking to the ruble, which has depreciated quite a bit recently. Are the two issues interrelated? Is there a connection there?
I would not say there is a direct relation between hryvnia devaluation and ruble devaluation. There is a relation because, you know, They assault, they attacked on Ukraine from Russia. It followed sanctions on Russia, and that was the main reason why Russia now experiences ruble devaluation. But it was not hryvnia devaluation which triggered problems for Russia.
Mm-hmm.
And the last question for me, we know, of course, we talk this week about currency, but in general, during the last months, you have a lot of headlines about the possible default of Ukraine, bankruptcy, about that the economy is doing really bad. So what is your more or less prognosis? How reasonable is that? What Ukraine can do? You know, there are, it's often written that without the reforms, the country will would go bankrupt. So what is your take on that?
Without reforms, we would go bankrupt, but I don't see why where we can default for the moment. We have paid all our debts for this year. For sure, in 2 months we will be in 2015, and we can go bankrupt next year. But large payments will start only in June, in July. So we have some room for maneuvering, but anyway, it doesn't mean that the authorities should relax. We are very much dependent on external support, and the IMF, why we haven't received any funding so far, and why the IMF is waiting for new cabinet and for new budget, because it will be a clear indication whether we want to change or we just will be relaxing, will be waiting for some help.
Dmytro, thanks a lot for joining us.